Okay, it is January 20th, and here for the NBA today on Martin Luther King Day, we have got 8 games, in the National Basketball Association, and with it being Martin Luther King Day, we have early games today. We got the Mavericks and Hornets at 9 a.m., Pistons and Rockets at 11, we've got the Timberwolves and Grizzlies at 11:30, a noon game between the Hawks and the Knicks, 12:30 for the Suns and Cavs, 2 o'clock game between the Celtics and the Warriors, and then our final 2 games of the night are at 5 and 7:30, and we'll get to those at the end of the video, but yeah, early games today. That's why this video is going out earlier than normal. This video's out, and well, you're seeing it at 8 a.m. tomorrow, of course, and for the rest of the week, the NBA videos will be going up at their regular time of 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Let's now get into it. Yeah, we've got 8 games in the NBA, folks. If you haven't hit, though, make sure that subscribe button down below for some more daily NBA predictions here on the channel. Earlier today, we posted our college basketball best bets. That is linked in the description down below. Also, today is the national championship game, of course, with college football. Notre Dame, Ohio State. We predicted that game a couple days ago. That is linked in the description down below. Again, that one is tonight, so make sure to check out that video before the national championship game later today. Okay, on to the first of our 8 predictions. We go to Charlotte, North Carolina. It's an early one at 9 a.m. Dallas Mavericks, Charlotte Hornets. Give me the Mavericks to win, but primarily here, I just like Charlotte plus 5.5. Again, I think there's a very good chance Charlotte straight up just wins the basketball game. I think there's more than a good chance that happens. But we're going to take the plus 5.5. Again, the winner of this game, sure, I would side with Dallas, I think, just because, even though Charlotte's played a lot better recently, they've won 3 of 4, they're still a 10-win team this season, but, the Hornets have just been a lot better recently. They are now without Brandon Miller for an extended period of time. Miller's going to be out for a while now, so now you enter a guy like Nick Smith Jr. into the starting lineup, but again, this is the LaMelo Ball show, obviously, now without Miller in the lineup, but again, LaMelo's that good, and you got a guy in Mark Williams who's been really doing well on the glass recently. 19 rebounds the other night in the victory against the Chicago Bulls. And again, Charlotte now with back-to-back wins over Utah and Chicago. They win against Phoenix 4 games ago. But yes, it is a different challenge taking on a Mavericks team like this. And Dallas obviously still dealing with their injuries. Kyrie's back, obviously, but no Luka Doncic. Jaden Hardy's out, Derek Lively questionable for this game. Dwight Powell not playing. Dante Exum's still out. Dallas is dealing with their fair share of injuries, but ultimately, again, I think they still win. But again, that's not the main play for this game. The main play for this one is Charlotte Hornets plus 5.5. That's what I feel better about. Charlotte's been playing competitive basketball recently. They get this game at home. I can definitely see a pathway for the Charlotte Hornets to win. I definitely can. I'm not going to outright say that they're going to do that, but I definitely think getting 5.5 points at home, yeah, I like that a lot. Give me Charlotte here as home dogs to cover. Again, the winner of this game doesn't really matter all that much. I think Charlotte, again, the way they've been playing recently, back-to-back road games. They've been on the road for a while, and they won their last 2 road games on that trip against Utah, against Chicago. Of course, the ball versus ball game, Lonzo versus LaMelo. LaMelo's the victor, obviously, with his 26-9 in that game. 2-point victory for Charlotte against, yes, a Chicago team that has been playing very poorly, but I like the Hornets in the spot to cover. The winner of this game, sure, I'd say it's Dallas, but it would not surprise me at all if the Hornets are able to pick up the victory. Let's move on to our second game of the day. We go to Houston, Texas for the Houston Rockets taking on the Detroit Pistons. I like Houston in this spot to win. To cover, I'll go with Detroit again, though, plus 7.5. Now, I'm going to speak highly of the Rockets until, again, they, kind of screw us over on a couple games. I do think the Rockets are actually good now, which, again, if you went back a week and if you heard me say this a week ago, you'd be surprised. But yes, I do think the Rockets are good, and I've got to give all the credit in the world to Jalen Green. I think my problem with Jalen Green for majority of the season was he just wasn't able to play consistently good basketball. But that's different now. Jalen Green is playing consistently great basketball, right? His last 4 games, the Rockets are 3-1 in the stretch, but 42 in the 2-point victory over the Grizzlies. If Jalen Green doesn't have that night for the Rockets, they don't beat Memphis. The win at Denver, sure, it was a blowout, but Jalen Green still had 34 points. They lose in Sacramento by 5. Jalen Green puts up 28 and some big-time shots in the end, and I get it. He missed the game winner at the end of the game, the game tying 3 at the end, but that game wouldn't have been competitive without Jalen Green. And then the win over Portland, sure, they win it by a lot, but Jalen Green at 26 points. He leads the Rockets in points 7 after the last 8 games. The only game where, he didn't lead their team in points, Sengun put up 32 against the Grizz. So Jalen Green's been great recently. I mean, the shooting's been, obviously it's been much improved, and Jalen Green's been great from beyond the arc recently. Again, this 9-10 game stretch, Jalen Green has just been phenomenal for the Rockets. Obviously, he can drive the basket. Obviously, he can score. And I like the Rockets to win the game. But again, this pick, the plus 7.5 for Detroit. Again, I expect the Rockets to win. The plus 7.5 here for the Pistons. This isn't me hating on the Rockets. This is just me giving praise to Detroit. And I get it. They've lost back-to-back games. They're still relatively healthy other than the Ivy injury. But again, their loss against Phoenix, close game. They lose it by 4 points. It is what it is. It was an early morning game or afternoon game before the Lions-Commanders game, and they lost it by 4 points. That's fine. They lose against the Pacers. Well, Indiana is playing some of the best basketball around the entire league right now, so there's no shame in losing that game. Prior to that, again, Detroit went on their big run. This is a team that will play competitive basketball, and even in their losses recently, like the three-point loss, to the Warriors, their 4-point loss against the Suns, they played competitive basketball even in their losses. That's why I think that Detroit does cover this line, plus 7.5. I will take the Pistons in this spot. But again, to win the basketball game, yes, I do like the Rockets. I think in the end, again, in a close game, I think, again, the stars for this Rockets team, we're talking Jalen Green, we're talking Alfred Sengun. These guys excel in this spot. And again, Jalen Green has just really excelled in big-time moments this season, or at least down, in the last 10 games here since the calendar turn of 2025. Jalen Green's been excellent. So I'm not going to hate on the guy. I think the Rockets have been playing really good basketball recently. I think, again, are they a legit contender to get out the West? I don't know if I can entirely say that. I think they're going to be, again, I think right now they're in the top 4 for me. If I have to, again, the top 4 teams to get out the Western Conference right now, I still think is OKC, Denver, in no order. Well, OKC's 1, but then Denver, Houston. I do still say the Lakers are 4, even though at this point, maybe the Clippers have a better chance to get out the West. But are the Clippers really going to be healthy in the playoffs? Let's just be honest, guys. Every year, the Clippers aren't healthy in the playoffs. So, as much as I want to think the Clippers are going to be good in the postseason, I just don't believe in them to be there down the stretch. I don't know. Right now, the Clippers look great. Don't get me wrong. Just watch that Lakers game today. I mean, the Clippers were great. I don't know. Give me Houston in the spot to win, but I do like Detroit to cover the plus 7.5. I think it's a very competitive basketball game that the Rockets just do get the better of the Pistons in. So, give me Houston in the spot to win, but again, Detroit to cover. Let's go on to our next game as we move to Memphis, Tennessee. The Grizzlies are the 2 seed right now in the Western Conference, or 3 seed, of course, behind Houston and OKC. And they get the Minnesota Timberwolves, a team that is, very off and on, right? You're going to get nights where Minnesota looks great. They go on a run, they win 3 in a row, but now they've just been exchanging wins and losses since the last time they played Memphis on the 11th. They lose that game by 2 points in Minnesota. Then they go to Washington and beat the Wizards. They play Golden State in Minnesota. They lose a close one by 1. They lose on the road at New York they go on the road and beat the Knicks, and they just lost at home to the Cavaliers. So again, Timberwolves just feels like, they win 1, they lose 1. If we're playing those odds, then they should win this game right here against the Grizzlies. I don't think so. I'm taking Memphis to win and Memphis to cover. The game's in Memphis, right? Grizzlies coming off back-to-back victories against the San Antonio Spurs, both of which were on the road. They were on a road trip for over a week. Now they come back home to Memphis. They get 4 straight games in this homestand, and I do like the Grizzlies to take care of business in this spot. They are dealing with some injuries. Obviously, Marcus Smart's still out, but John Morant questionable for this game with a foot injury. We'll see. He didn't play the second game against the Spurs, and the Grizzlies do look really good in that basketball game. They've been finding ways to win this season, even with John Morant out of the lineup. And obviously, I don't think they're better without John Morant. Obviously, again, this team is better when Morant's in the lineup, but they do find ways to win when Ja is not playing. So regardless of if Ja plays or not, I like the Grizzlies in this spot. Minnesota, again, they have their night, sure, but they are dealing with injuries of their own. No Dante DiVincenzo, which makes a difference, and a big loss potentially in Rudy Gobert is questionable with the right ankle sprain. So again, they're already without one of their stars in DiVincenzo. We'll see if Gobert is out as well. Taking that all into account, though, I do like Memphis. And on top of that, too, I just like the Grizzlies more. I think the Grizzlies played better defense. I think the Grizzlies can score more effectively. Obviously, if you take away Anthony Edwards, obviously, again, Ant is an elite scorer in the league. But when you take away Ant, then you're relying on guys like Julius Randle. And then, you really don't. Jaden McDaniels hasn't really scored that much. And again, out of their starters, it's really just Ant and Randle that can effectively score. Dante, when he's starting, sure, but right now it's going to be Conley. McDaniels are not relying on to score that many points. Gobert, obviously, you're not relying on either. And then your next best scorer is coming off your bench. It's Naz Reid. I don't know. I think we've obviously said this before this year, and a lot of people are saying this about the Timberwolves. I think they screwed up with that trade. Again, I like DiVincenzo in this lineup. I do, and I think Julius Randle's a good basketball player, but I do feel like they're missing Karl Anthony Towns. I don't know. I mean, this team was a couple games away from the NBA Finals last year, and they got rid of their franchise piece. And I get it, that's Ant now, but what started this Minnesota rise was obviously when they picked Karl Anthony Towns as the first pick of the draft all those many years ago, right? Oh, technically it was Wiggins when they got Wiggins, but still, like when they traded K-Love. But regardless, I mean, he's been a cornerstone for this franchise, and you get rid of him for Randall and DiVincenzo? I don't know. I think they got worse. I think the Grizzlies win this game, and I think Memphis covers as well. So it's going to be Memphis -4.5. With or without Ja, they cover the line. Obviously, again, it's a much bigger deal if they do get Ja in this game, but we'll see again. Gobert might not even play for the Timberwolves. Give me the Grizz, though, to win the game and cover the 4.5. Next up, we go to the Garden. Oh, it's one of the bigger games of today. I mean, it's a big-time spot. The Atlanta Hawks go on the road to take on the New York Knicks. I don't know who's playing for the Hawks, though. Here's the thing. It looks like they're getting Jalen Johnson back. It looks like Trae Young is playing. They're both probable, right? Jalen Johnson probable with right shoulder inflammation, and then Trae Young is probable with an Achilles injury. Those guys are playing, right? No Larry Nance, no Zachary Ricochet, but that's fine. Trae Young, guys, went to Boston and beat the Celtics. And I get it, Drew Holiday had that moment at the end of the fourth quarter where they fouled Trae Young and they got him to the line, and obviously they were up 2. I think, Holiday, blunder obviously and forgot the score. They thought he thought the Celtics were up 3. Regardless, Atlanta goes to Boston and wins for the second time this year. I said it earlier. I said it a couple days ago. I said, you know what? I'm taking Atlanta to cover. It wouldn't surprise me if they win the game outright. 12.5 point dogs. What happened? They won. Atlanta's great, guys. Atlanta's good, and they rise to the occasion and win big basketball games. That's just what this team does, and that's what Trae Young does as a player. He's a big-time basketball player. He leads the NBA in assists. He's been great this year scoring-wise as well. Oh, you think maybe his production scoring will go down? No, he's still averaging 23.5 points a game. I mean, this is, again, he's averaging 23.5 and 12. I mean, this is the most underappreciated superstar in the league. And now he's walking into a place where they absolutely hate him. He's going to get booed out the arena. But here's the thing, guys. Trae Young plays to that. Trae Young likes getting booed. He likes being the villain. And New York's got injuries of their own. Josh Hart, I doubt's playing. Questionable when left their last game. I doubt Josh Hart's going to play this one. Karl Anthony Towns questionable with a thumb injury. I'd imagine Cat will play, and I imagine Thibodeau is going to play his starters 38 minutes tonight, all of them, because, the Hawks are in town. They embarrassed us last time, right? We're 0-2 against Atlanta this year. We got to get one. No, give me the Hawks again. And yes, Thibodeau is going to play this game like it's Game 7 in the NBA Finals, and they're still going to lose. Atlanta rises to the occasion, guys. Jalen Johnson is back. That's a big, return, obviously, for Atlanta. Onyeka Okongwu's been great, and Trae Young's a superstar. And again, Trae Young owns the New York Knicks. And I guess, overall record, the Knicks have gotten Trae Young over time. But still, in big-time games, Trae Young goes into MSG and he wins. And he beats the Knicks. That man hates New York. There aren't many true rivalries in the game anymore. Hell, the Detroit Pistons and Indiana Pacers are trying to create a rivalry. This legitimately is a true rivalry in the game. Hawks, Knicks, now it's not between players, it's between one player and the fans. But Trae Young excels in the villain role, and Trae Young, for the second time this season, will walk into New York and beat the New York Knicks. So you can keep your points, plus 6.5. We're taking the money line, plus 215, Atlanta Hawks on the road. Give me that all night long. Atlanta walks into the Garden and they beat the New York Knicks. To our next game, we go to the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Phoenix Suns. Give me Cleveland here. That's not that shocking of a pick, obviously. I don't think I don't think Phoenix is able to keep up with the Cavs. Phoenix has been winning recently, but who have they been playing? They've won 5 of their last 6. They beat the Hawks, good win. They beat the Jazz, Charlotte, okay. They lose to Atlanta. They beat Washington, Detroit in close games. Detroit, good victory, sure. But I mean, Washington, Utah, Charlotte, just like, all right, good. Games you're supposed to win, right? And good teams beat those type of squads, but it's not like they're beating the elite squads. It's just, again, Phoenix, most of their wins are just against mediocre teams. That's what it is this year for them. They're not going to beat the Cavaliers. Guys, yeah, Phoenix is not going to keep up scoring-wise. They just won't. They will not keep up scoring-wise. Bradley Beal's questionable for this game. We'll see. Again, he really helps out the second unit, but when Cleveland's at their best, they're so hard to beat. No Isaac Okoro, no Evan Mobley. That messes up, obviously the two bigs underneath for Cleveland, but Jared Allen will be able to man the fort for one night. That'll be fine. And again, you know what Cleveland does. They shoot the hell out the basketball, and they make it extremely tough for anybody to guard them. They've got 6 losses all year long. Sure, again, their most recent loss was against the best team in the NBA in the OKC Thunder. Hell, we saw what Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did last night, right? I mean, the guy's just, he's special, man. He's special, and he's the most valuable player in the league, okay? I know it's only 27 points, but still a double-double for Shai. We're gonna celebrate that, right? And I know it was the Nets, but still. Give me Cleveland here. They'll be able to outpace the Suns. Durant and Booker, they're great. Can't say that about the rest of the team. I like the Nick Richards ad. I like it. I think Tyus Jones has been okay in his role this year as well, but just their bench is just kind of mediocre. Well, and if Bradley Beal doesn't play, that just takes away from that too. Then, the bench units, Monte Morris, Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, and Mason Plumlee. Nurkic is just exiled from this team. He's still sick, but it's not like he plays anymore, so it's like, all right. Give me Cleveland. Yeah, the Cavs will be able to run them out the building. They're going to run them out the gym. Cleveland minus 7.5, minus 300. Give me both of them. I like the Cavs at home here against the Phoenix Suns. Next up, we move to the game of the day. I mean, it just feels like it, right? Finals rematch from a couple of years ago, obviously. The Boston Celtics go into San Francisco, California to take on the Golden State Warriors. It's the second half of the TNT back-to-back. Obviously, they start with Timberwolves, Grizzlies, and now they get Warriors and Celtics. Kind of split on this pick, but I've come to the conclusion the Celtics will win this game and cover. I always thought the Celtics were going to win. It's just a matter of, do I think the Warriors can stay in this game? It's really dependent on if Steph Curry plays, but the Warriors are so injured. No Draymond Green, Kuminga's still out, no Kyle Anderson, no Brandon Podziemski, and then Steph Curry, they said, is iffy for this game. He's questionable with the ankle injury. Yeah, I don't like all of that. I don't. So even if Curry plays, it is a one-man effort for the Warriors in this game. It is a one-man effort. And I know earlier this year they went to Boston and won, but that's when Golden State was on their, miracle run, their Cinderella run early in the year. Again, yes, the Warriors started the year 12-3. They're now 21-20. And they've won back-to-back games. They got to 19-20 at one point. It's just a different Golden State team now, and they're much more injured, obviously. I mean, if Curry doesn't play, you can throw it away. If Curry does play, sure, maybe they're kind of competitive, but they're missing so many pieces off their bench. They lack depth. I mean, Trace Jackson-Davis is going to be fighting for his life down low because literally, again, he's got no other, he's got no help. And Boston's good. In spots, though, I mean, they've been very shaky in their own right. They've traded wins and losses since January 3rd, right? January 3rd, they go to Houston and win. Then they lose the Thunder. They then go to Denver and win. They lose the Kings at home. They beat the Pels at home barely. They lose to Toronto on the road. They beat the Magic. And then they host the Hawks, and Trae Young goes in there and beats them in overtime. They've been very inconsistent. They have. But, I guess they're kind of due for one here. I mean, they're a completely healthy basketball team for the most part. They go on the road to play Golden State. Golden State's not a healthy basketball team. I think Boston gets it. This is a game that Boston will get up for. This is a game that they will be focused on winning. And this is a nationally televised game on Martin Luther King Day, on the road against the Warriors, cross country. I think the Celtics will, they will be excited to win this basketball game, and I do think they'll do exactly that. I mean, hell, when you just compare these two teams on paper, who's the better team? It's obviously the Celtics. The Celtics are the better built team. They have better players all around. Yes, the Warriors have Steph Curry, but again, other than Curry, what do they have? And yes, eventually, again, this is why the Warriors are where they're at in the standings. They're not even in the plan right now. Eventually, again, this lack of help around Curry was going to catch up to them, and it's done exactly that now. I mean, they're 21-20. We'll see if they can find their way into the plan, but I don't feel too confident in them doing that. I don't know. Give me the Celtics in the spot on the road. If Curry doesn't play, it's going to be a blowout. Minus 7.5, even with Curry, I'm fine with it. Give me Boston. They're healthy. Golden State's not. To our next one. We go to New Orleans, Louisiana for the New Orleans Pelicans and the Utah Jazz. We just saw this game. And the Pelicans won it by 13 points. So I think they win it by more this time, actually. They are injured, but the Jazz are just, they're decimated with injuries. Their entire team's hurt. Their only real, player is Walker Kessler. Keontae George, Isaiah Collier. But other than that, like, I mean, we are going to go over their entire rotation right now, and they are so hurt. Yes, New Orleans is injured as well, but all these guys are probably going to play. DeJounte Murray, probable with an elbow injury. Zion, questionable with an illness. Zion will probably play. Brandon Ingram, out, okay. Yves Missy, questionable with an illness, maybe the same illness Zion has. I expect both those guys to play. Everyone but Brandon Ingram on that list will likely play this basketball game. And the Pelicans, surprisingly, have been hot recently. They've gotten all their guys back, and they've been really good. Again, they're way out of it for the postseason, but they've been good recently, so good on New Orleans. But Utah, man. Okay, so out of their primary 10 guys who normally play for this team, 5 of them are out. That's big. So half of the rotation guys are not playing, right? Keontae George is playing. No Colin Sexton, their starting shooting guard. Their backup shooting guard, Jordan Clarkson's not playing. Lauri Markkanen, their starting small forward, is not playing. Johnny Juzang, their backup small forward, is not playing. John Collins is not playing, their starting power forward. And then again, you get Walker Kessler who starts at center. You get Bryce Sensabaugh coming off the bench. You get Kyle Filipowski off the bench. So this starting lineup then becomes Keontae George. I assume Isaiah Collier will start too. I guess Cody Williams will have to start now. The first round pick, the 10th overall pick out of Colorado, who's been kind of disappointing, but he's young. He's a developmental player. Bryce Sensabaugh at the 4, Walker Kessler at the 5. Who comes off the bench? Seriously. Kyle Filipowski is still one of the rotation guys off the bench. Drew Eubanks, Elijah Harkless, Patty Mills, Svi Mikhailuk. They are decimated with injuries. New Orleans should be able to get him here. I don't know what's going on with the Utah Jazz. All these guys are hurt. Well, Sexton's out with rest purposes. I mean, it's just like, I don't know, the tank's on. Tank for flag, I guess. We're waving the white flag for flag, giving the New Orleans Pelicans at home against the Utah Jazz to win and cover the 11.5 points. We go on to the nightcap in Los Angeles, California, or Inglewood, California, obviously at the Intuit Dome. Second half of a back-to-back for both the Clippers and the Bulls. Thing is, the Clippers are still at home, and the Bulls had to go all the way from Portland, where they sucked last night and lost. And now they gotta go play the Clippers. They're going to get blown out. Okay? 5.5, ridiculous. This is a complete blowout if I've ever seen one. This game will be over in the third quarter. No Kawhi Leonard. Obviously, he's not playing both games in a back-to-back. Whatever. The Bulls injury report. Probably no Lonzo will be back and play the Portland game. Whatever. The Bulls have just been bad recently. The Clippers will outscore this team. The Clippers have games where they don't miss shots. It feels like every game that they play. Teams that don't play defense, they punish. The Bulls don't play defense. The Clippers will punish this team. Zubac will get every rebound in this game. Offensive and defensive. You thought Anthony Davis couldn't get boards against Ivica Zubac. What's Vucevic going to do? Zach LaVine's this Bulls team's only hope. Kobe White put up a stinker last night in Portland. But whatever. The Clippers are the much better basketball team. I am very surprised they're getting 5.5 points. For reference, they got, 3.5, 4.5 against the Lakers last night? And I know they beat the Lakers by 14 points, but still, they're only getting 5.5 against Chicago? Both these teams are on back-to-back, so the Bulls were the ones who had to travel last night. And the Bulls have lost many games. They lost last night, again, to Portland. They've lost 5 in a row. The Bulls are just horrible, and yet they have a 2-game lead on the next team in the race for the play-in. Guys, the way it's going, the 10-win Charlotte Hornets right now could legitimately find their way into the play-in, and it would not even be that crazy of a take. It will probably be Philadelphia still. They'll probably they'll find their way somehow to the 10 spot. But that's how bad the 10 seed is in the Eastern Conference. There's going to be a horrendous basketball team in the play-in this year. Yeah, they'll go on the road. Yeah, they'll get smoked. But it's going to happen. I don't know. Yeah, give me the Clippers to win and cover. I think this line's kind of crazy. -5.5 for the Clippers. Give me that all night long. Folks, thank y'all for watching our daily NBA predictions here for January 20th. If you have not yet, though, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below for more. Make sure to leave a like if you did enjoy the video. Make sure to comment if you do disagree with any of the picks. Folks, thank y'all for watching, and Mamba